Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about the challenge of building a to-do list app using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. My project just have a simple and minimal design. If you're not productive in your life, a to-do list is one of the best ideas to increase your productivity. This project also helps you to sharpen your JavaScript skill a lot. Now let's add some tasks. Coding, do exercise, editing video. You can click on the checkbox whenever you finish a task, or edit the task name if you want to change something. And finally, we have the delete function. Okay, don't let you wait any longer. Let's get started. Let's start by looking at our HTML5. You type an exclamation mark and press enter. The VS Code will automatically generate a basic HTML structure for you to start with. This action is called an HTML boilerplate or template creation. This structure includes doc-type HTML declaration, the HTML head and body tags, as well as some default meta information. This is a quick way to get started with writing an HTML document without having to write all the basic structure yourself. Okay, look at my finished app. Its structure consists a container that holds heading, to-do list, an input field by using the form tag, and a list of tasks by using the UL tag. The input field allows us to add new tasks, while the list of tasks show our existing tasks. Let's go into details of the form tag. We have the input tag with the type text. This will define a single line text input field. Then we have the placeholder, add new task, and the button type submit. That means it will define this button for the submitting the data inside this input element to a form handler. Now I want the plus icon to show on this button. You can use icon from Font Awesome. There are tons of icons you can choose from. But first I need to add the Font Awesome. The link I put below the description. After that, you can choose the icon you want. Then you copy this HTML code and paste this right here. At this point, I don't know why it doesn't show the icon, but when I change the FAR, stand for Font Awesome Regular Style, to FAS, stand for Font Awesome Solid Style, it works normally. So if you know what I'm doing wrong, can you let me know in the comments? And others learn from you too. That's a great thing. Okay, let's move on to the task list. I use the li tag for the list items, and each item has the task info and the delete button. Inside the task info, we have the span tag and write something here. Coding, for example, I'm gonna say we're going to hard code first. It's easy for us to style. Then when it's look good, we will use JavaScript to make it dynamic. We also have the input type checkbox. This helps you to take a task as done, which is very useful for you to keep track of the task list. For the button, I want to show the trust icon on it. You can choose any icon on the website. Just click on it, then show you the HTML code. Very simple to use. And finally, I'm going to multiple this list item. Edit for a while. Do exercise. Editing video. Cool. I think our HTML is fine. Moving on to our CSS styling. We create a new CSS file. Then remember to attach the link in HTML and refer to the style.css. In the CSS file, we have the draw selector where we'll put all the variables This will make it easy to maintain the styling code and make it consistent throughout the coding process. We have some color themes and font family. If you want to follow my code, just pause this video or check out the GitHub link below the description. Then we move on to styling for the background. It's a body tag in this case, so I select body. I want it to have a 45-degree linear gradient color, going from primary to secondary color. We apply the font family throughout the project. The height 100 VH and overflow is hidden. Then I want our app container to be center of the screen, so let's say display, flex, justify content, and align item center. Then if you look at my finished project, you will see I have this extra image on the right side. So let's go back to our CSS file. I will use pseudo class after. It will insert something after the body element. So let's start with the content, empty string, because I don't want to display any text on my extra image. The background image is the URL that's referred to this extra image. You can download it on my GitHub for free. The background size content, because I want to make sure this image is fully visible. The background repeat is no repeat, to make sure the image will only be shown once. Then we have the position absolute, so you can easily assign its position relative to its ancestor element. In this case, it's our body element. Give it top, right, height, and width. I think it looks good for this design. Z index 1, because I will explain to you later. Next, I will style for the container. We have display, flex, flex direction, column, align item, center. This CSS will have the elements inside the container box aligned vertically and center. Then we have the position, relative, height, width, padding, border radius, box shadow, background color. I use the value as variable we defined earlier, z index 10. Now I will show you why z index of the pseudo class is 1, because when we're showing the screen width, the container will be located on this extra image. Avoid the case this extra image will lose important information of the container. Now if you look back at my finished project, you will see I have 2 extra images here. Back to our CSS5, handling is very simple. We're using pseudo class after and before. Then I will copy these codes. No need for z index anymore. I will fix the URL right here. Then fix the bottom, right, height, and width. Then I copy and do the same thing for this. I will fix the URL. Bottom, left, height, and width. That looks too good. Okay, we continue with the heading. I want the position absolute top 50 pixel. It will be about 50 pixels from the top edge of the container box. We have the color, font family, font size, font weight. Alright, here I use the BBAT new font. This is good for me. You can use any font you want. Then we move on to the input field. I want it to be about 150 pixels from each container. Display, flex, justify content, center. Align item, center. Because I want the child elements to be centered on a horizontal line. Give it a border radius and the background color. It looks very messy, but don't worry, just follow me. For the heading 2, I want it to be about 200 pixels away from the top edge of the container. Then for the task list, I want it to be about 250 pixels away from the top edge of the container. Now it looks better, but we'll come back to the heading 2 and task list later. Now we'll style for the input and the button inside the input field. Here I give it the type is specifically targeting input elements with the type attribute set to text. This is useful when you want to apply a specific type to only text input elements, but not other types such as checkbox, radio buttons, or button. However, if you only have text input element on your page, then using just input would work just as well. Okay, now I set the width, height, padding, font size, border, and background to none. For the button type submit, I set the width, font size, margin left, border, and background to none. Cursor pointer, opacity 0.6, and when we hover over the button, the opacity is set to 0.8. Okay, back to heading 2, I set the color, font size. The font size can be 10 pixels, smaller than the heading font size variable. I set the font weight, font family. Then for the task list style type to none, so you don't see the markers in front of the list item anymore. I set the width and max height. Give it some top margin. I don't want a padding. Then I set display to flex direction column. Align items and justify content to center, because I want the list item centered in a vertical line. And if add too many tasks, the list item may overflow the container. I don't want that to happen, so I set overflow Y auto. For the default scroll bar, this doesn't look good, so I set it color, it width. Don't forget to style for the scroll bar on WebKit browser. Then for the list item, I set the width and height. I set display to flex, justify content, space between, align items, because I want it to be positioned on the horizontal axis with a space between the task name and the task can icon. Padding, margin top, border radius, and background to white, but with an opacity of only 0.6. When I hover over the list item, the background goes to opacity of 1. With the checkbox, I set the margin left to 25 pixels, cursor pointer, the accent color by default. The checkbox has blue color when you click on it. Maybe I want to sync with this heading color, so I say accent color to heading color. Does look better. For the span tag, aka task name, I set a padding left, font size, and color. Alright, for the delete button here, I set a font size, width, padding, border, and background to none. The cursor pointer, opacity 0.6, and when we hover over it, the opacity will be 0.8. Okay, I think our styling looks good. Last but not least, our JavaScript function will be the secret sauce for our to-do list app, from adding a new task to editing and deleting function. I create a new file, script.js. Then in HTML file, I refer to the script.js. First, I need to select the necessary elements by using crease selectors. The crease selectors is a method that returns the first element that matches a CSS selectors. And the document refers to the DOM of the web page. If I put it .input field here, this will select the first input field class on the web page, which is this one, and I call it form. The same idea, I select the first input and the first task lead class. Then I add the submit event listener to the form. The submit event only happens when you click on this button, because we defined this button as type submit before. Or you can press enter after you type this text. And when the event occurs, this function will be run. I call it add task function. Let's go into detail of the add task function. Let's take the event as an argument. And you can see whenever I hit the submit button, the page reloads. I don't want it to happen. So I use event.prevent default to handle it. I note right here to prevent the page from reloading on the form submission. Alright, everything works fine. Then you want to turn this input text into a new task. You need to get this value using this method, input.value, which refers to the text inside the input element. Let's try console.log the result. You can see it clearly. We successfully get the input text value. The next step, we need to create the necessary elements for the new task. Next means every list item has more than just the text value that we type. It includes the li tag, the checkbox, the task name, and the delete button. It's basically follow this HTML structure. So our mission is to create this HTML structure using JavaScript, and this is called DOM manipulation. Okay, let's follow HTML structure I put on the screen. We have li tag first, so let's say const list item equal document.createElements li. The createElement method creates an element node. This is one of the most important DOM manipulation techniques. Then we create a div element called task div, create an input element called checkbox, define its type as a checkbox, creating a span element called task name, and give it the inner text a task value. It will take this input text value from there to display as task name here. Then create a button element called delete button. After we create all the elements, we now need to add a class to each element, because without a class name, the CSS won't apply to the element, and you definitely don't want it to look ugly, right? Okay, for the task div, I add a class name as task info. This line code means that we first select the task div element, and then we add a CSS class task info to this element using the classLead.add method. And do the same thing for adding delete class name to the delete button. Now if you want to show the trash icon inside the delete button, you need to access the inner HTML of the button. Give this string I tag the class name of font awesome trash icon. Okay, now that we have all the material, now we need to append these elements to the DOM. This is very important, because if you don't, even if you have created these elements on the web page, you still cannot see them. So this is why we need to use append child method. The append child method append element as the last child of an element. For example, we append the list item elements at the last child of the task lead element. As you can see, we successfully render a new list item. Now continue to append the task div, the delete button to the list item element. Then I append the checkbox and task name to the task div. Alright, it works. Now we can add a new task by typing the task name and hitting the submit button. But one more thing, just wanna improve the user experience. Normally, whenever you hit the submit button, this input value disappears and is ready for the next input. How can we do that? So simple, let's say input.value equal the empty string. That's good. For now, we haven't done the delete and edit task functionality yet. This function will trigger when we click on this icon to remove or click on the task name to edit. So I will add event listener, click to the UL tag aka task lead, and whenever the click event occurs, this task modify function will be run. So let's define this function. It takes the event as an argument. It's very important. We can use this to determine which element we have just clicked on, and then we code to execute the logic. So I will console.log and show you what the event is. As you can see, when I click on the list item, we receive an object pointer event on the console window. We have a lot of information belongs to the click event, but just focus on the target properties. It will show you exactly elements you click on it. For example, if I click on the trash can icon here, you can see the target show to us. We have just clicked on the object, has this class name, and because I don't care about other properties except target. So right here, let's say I have the click element equal event.target and console.log click event element. So as you can see, we just make things simple and easy to debug. So let's move on. For the remove task function, whenever I click on the trash can icon, the click element will return the I tag with the class name. This string is a bit complicated, so let's try printing the click element dot class lead and see what happens. Now it's returned the array, but the second element inside the array always is FA trash. I will say it always shows you the FA trash as second element in this array when you click on the delete button. So I can use this to determine if we click on this button or not by using this condition statement. If it's true, let's say I console.log the delete button has been clicked. Okay, on the console window, let's check it out. Click on anything except the delete button and do not receive any message from the console log. Then click on the delete button. Yeah, we got the delete button has been clicked. Perfect. So the only thing here, we need to remove the task using the remove method. This is the semantic method. So maybe I don't need to say more about it. The problem is we need to define exactly what the task will be. Just looking at the HTML tree, we have the click element which refers to the I tag, and this is the element we want to remove. It is the second generation parent of this I tag, so I can use click element dot parent element twice. The parent element property in JavaScript will return the parent element of the specific element. So I try console.log because we need to double check again. Okay, we have successfully removed the list item. Meanwhile, the console log window returned the li tags as I said before. Good. And we have the last function before end of this tutorial, that's editing a task like the remove function. We also need to check if the text has been clicked. So let's console.log click element again. And see, when I click on the task name, we receive this span element. By using this method .tagName, it will return the tag name of an element but in uppercase. So I can say if click element .tagName triple equal span in uppercase, or I can convert it to lowercase like this, both of which give the same result. Inside this condition statement, I will confirm the task name was clicked. Let's double check. Alright, cool. Now you can think about after we click on the task name, with the editing purpose, you probably need an input element so you can enter the new text, right? To add new input, you can access the inner HTML of the click element and give it a string that follows the HTML syntax. But now I want text inside this input be the same as the previous task name. It will be convenient for you to edit. So I can say task equal click element dot inner HTML. This will save the task name before we edit it as a task variable and put it right here. Okay, that's work. But the new editing input is ugly. We need to style it a bit. If you pay attention to this, I define the new input that had class name edit input. So come back to our CSS file. Let's apply the style to the edit input element. Give it a width, margin, padding left, font size, color. Now I want the checkbox and the input to be horizontal. So I call the parent element task info, give display, flex direction, row. But it's not over yet. After I type a new task name, then I want to click outside the input element. It will update a new task name. As a common scenario, you maybe think of the blur event. Blur event occurs when an element loses focus. In this case, the input loses focus and trigger the blur event. So let's say I will select the input element inside the span tag first and call it edit input. Then I add the event listener blur on the edit input, and when it happens, it will trigger this function. Inside the function, we will update the inner HTML of the click element to the new value, and this value takes from edit input dot value. Okay, let's check it out. Here we are, back to the HTML file. I don't need these hard codes anymore because we have the function of adding a new task, editing and delete a task. Our project has become a pretty full feature application ready. Now everything about the basic functionality of the simple to-do list is done. You have successfully built a simple to-do list application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Not only that, the design of this app is also aesthetically pleasing. I hope this app helps you to improve your coding skill and can use this to be productive in your life. And now I have to do a job that's not on the list. Fix bug. See you later.